Hi everybody, today we're going to do a demonstration of some of my favorite kitchen chemistry. That is going to be the formation of carbohydrate gels. Alright, in cooking we come across gels all the time, and there are a lot of examples of it. The most common example that you might find is something like Jell-O, right? But our focus today is actually going to be on carbohydrate gels, and what we're going to do is we're going to make some freezer jam. Just a couple of things, a couple of reasons why we're going to go that way. So first of all, there's some very big differences between the carbohydrate gels that we're going to make in terms of today in terms of jam and something like Jell-O. First of all, jam that we're going to make today is carbohydrate gels, and so it's a mixture of carbohydrates like pectin and sugar come together to make a really nice gel. Jell-O is actually protein gels. You can look at the ingredients list on Jell-O, and you can see a lot of things. There's just not a lot of sugar in that, and there's not a lot of carbohydrates. Well, you can put sugar in, obviously, but the gel comes from actually the proteins. And I mean, there are things like, if I remember right, it's the using the protein is from hooves, like cow hooves, and it's because it's the same stuff that your fingernails are made of, right? And so it's that type of stuff, and so that's the protein that's where they get the protein that they make for Jell-O, and that's just fine. I mean, who cares if it's cow hooves? It's actually protein, and it's I'm a big fan of Jell-O myself, and I think Jell-O's yummy. But it's definitely not the same as jam. So they're very different things. It's the protein gels versus the carbohydrate gels. Another big difference between protein gels and the carbohydrate gels, or the difference between jam and Jell-O, is what I'm going to say is, I can make Jell-O. I don't have any problem making Jell-O and everything like that. And you can get a box of Jell-O and you can make it and stuff like that. But I will tell you, when I make Jell-O, it's Jell-O. And there's not a lot of difference between the Jell-O that I make in the kitchen and the stuff that I can buy in the store, the snack pack and stuff like that. And so if I'm going to get Jell-O, I'm just going to buy it and just use that because it's good enough. On the other hand, the jam that we're going to make today, gang, you will never find anything near this good in a store. This is a different whole ballgame. And so let's go ahead and talk about making jam. All right. So the thing you need for jam is it's going to be a fruit-based jam, and what we're going to use is strawberries. It's springtime now, and this is a really good time of the year because the strawberries are plenty in the stores and things like that. And so I don't have any problem just going out and getting a container of strawberries from the store and using that. Now, I will know, everybody will tell you that, oh, if you want really good jam, you have to get some really fresh strawberries, go out and pick them yourself out of the strawberry farms and stuff like that. And I will tell you, yeah, sure, I agree. If you do that, and the jam you get is going to be exceptional. On the other hand, using this container of strawberries that we got from the store, the jam we're going to make is going to be still way better than anything that you're ever going to buy. And boy, this stuff is delicious. And it may not be as good as the stuff if you got fresh ingredients and fresh, local fresh strawberries and stuff like that. It may not be that good, but at the same time, this is way better than anything else. And so, on the other hand, this is a lot more convenient. You go to the store, buy yourself a quart of strawberries or two, and turn it into jam. It's convenient, and I'll tell you something else, it is easy. Okay, there's no reason that we can't have this done in less than an hour from where we're starting now. All right, this video won't last quite that long. I'll zoom through this boring parts and stuff like that, but we'll go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and make some jam. The first thing I'm going to do, I never took 4-H myself, but I do know that the first step in all the cooking processes is that we're going to wash our hands. So I'm going to wash my hands really well. There we go. And let me grab a towel and dry off my hands. And while I do that, I'll just mention that the strawberries I'm using are just ones right out of the store. what we need for this is we're going to need 2 cups of crushed strawberries. And what I found is that that's more or less 1 quart of strawberries, depending on your strawberries. What I find is that you usually do better if you have nice big strawberries, and I can tell you right now, we have got some big strawberries that are in the store right now, and so these are really good. The short answer is that there is less waste on that. There's less stems, more strawberry available, and so if you've got big strawberries like this, you get a lot of strawberry for the making here. There's a little bit tough on the bottom of that. And so all we need to do is we need to cut up all these strawberries, and we're going to cut them into small pieces. You know, I don't know, bite-sized pieces, little, you know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or something like that. Oh, by the way, I actually these are not just regular strawberries. I actually rinsed these really well before I started the video. So these are strawberries that have been cleaned and rinsed, and are all ready to use. And so I'm going to start chopping them up, and I'm just going to chop up this whole container. And I won't say anything while I do it. Whoops, put the stems over there. And when we get done with that, we'll come back and well, I won't come back because I'm just going to keep going, keep rolling here. But let's zoom ahead. All right, so all my strawberries are now cut up. And so that's 1 quart that's been cut up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mash them up. I want to get these things really nice and beat up a little bit, smushed down really good. And so I'm just going to start mashing, and I'm going to do that for a while until I have it into a nice, it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth or anything like that, but it has to be, I like it good and juicy, right? So we're squeezing the juice out of it at this point, right? So getting those strawberries, getting the juices to flow on that type of stuff. And so I'm going to do this, and I'll keep working on this until I'm done with that. Zoom ahead. Okay, so I've got these strawberries juiced up pretty good at this point and mashed up pretty well. You know, you don't want to puree these things or put them in a food processor or anything like this. This is jam, and so it needs to be good and chunky strawberries and everything like that. But you just got to get the juices flowing. So 1 quart of strawberries. Let's see how much we have here. What we're looking for is about 2 cups of mashed strawberries, and we are nowhere near. We're going to need a 2nd quart, aren't we? Yeah. We're going to need to add some more to that. And you can see here, we're about 2 cups. I'm a little bit short. I've got another box of strawberries here. I'm going to cut up a couple more of these, mash them up, and add them into that. So we'll zoom ahead while I do that. All right, so I've chopped up a few more strawberries and put them back in the bowl and mashed them back up again. So let's see what we got here. If I pour those back in the measuring cup, how much are we doing? Oh boy, that's looking really good. So yummy. Actually, it's really interesting. I'm not a big fan of plain strawberries themselves, but if you put them in jam, that's it. Okay, now it's at exactly where I want to be. There's a little bit more than 2 cups. Maybe 2 cups here. You can see that. That's about 2 cups of mashed strawberries. That's going to be perfect for making our jam. So do that in there. You can see how that's nice and mushy with a lot of juices flowing, everything like that. The second thing we're going to need on this is going to be a little bit of sugar. A little bit of sugar, I say. You need a lot of sugar in this. And you need that sugar because, A, makes things sweet. B, it's the gel. You really need that sugar in there for that gel. And so this is actually taking about 4 cups of sugar in order to do this. I know that sounds like a lot of sugar, but it's a lot of jam as well. So we can do that. And so what you want to do is just dump that sugar in there and stir this up. And I can show you the bowl. You can see there's a lot of sugar started in there. You just have to stir this around until that sugar starts getting dissolved, or gets dissolved, and not starts. It has to get dissolved in there. So you just kind of just stir that until that sugar gets in there. So you got nice sugar syrup with that strawberry juice. That's why you want the good juicy strawberries, and a lot of juice flying in here. And you know, as I'm stirring here, I'm still getting some crystals that I can feel that those sugar crystals are still coating the side of the container. So I'm going to keep stirring that until I can get that sugar to dissolve in there very nicely. There we go. It's getting better. That's getting better. And get that sugar dissolved in with my strawberries and make that strawberry sugar mixture. Yeah, that's getting a lot better. Now I can see I don't have those crystals on the side of the container anymore and stuff like that. So the sugar is dissolved in there very well. By the time you're done, you're looking something like this. I don't want to go too far. Just this container of sugar. What we need to do at this point is we just need to let it sit for a little bit. We want that sugar to dissolve really, really well. And so we're going to let that sit for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. While we're doing that, I'm going to get my jars ready because I know what you're saying. You're saying, oh, come on. I have to go through all that work to make strawberry jam and everything like that. 90% of the battle is over. We've done it. You know, the hardest part of this whole process and the most time-consuming, well, not the most time-consuming, but the most expensive part of this process is actually cutting up your strawberries. That's really what it is. Once the strawberries are cut up, this thing is a snap. When I do this in class, I bring in the strawberries and the sugar. This is where we start. We mix these things. We sit like that for 10 minutes. I talk a long time during class. My class starts at 1:30. We get these things going. I start at about 1:40 or so, and by 2:05, we're eating jam. And I mean, that's how fast this can go. So we got the hard part done at that point. I'm going to go get my jars ready and prepare for the next phase of this process. And I'll come back in about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll continue on. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's been, I don't know, a little bit more than 5 minutes or so. That's okay. This is working really well. I'm giving my strawberries a stir here and there. In the meantime, we have some other things to do. So in order to make jam, of course, what you need is a gelling agent. And what we usually use for gelling is pectin, fruit pectin. Pectin is the carboxylated version of, I think it's cellulose, right? And so, but it's carboxylated, so it's got carboxylic acids on it. Natural fruit pectin is also a combination. It's a mixture of methyl esters and carboxylic acids, and so it's that combination of the two that allows it for gel so nicely. Remember, fruit pectin is naturally occurring in a lot of different fruits. So, for example, underneath the skin of an orange, like the white stuff, there's a lot of pectin in that. And so fruits that are high in pectin will naturally gel on their own. And so that's why things, historically you have things like orange marmalade and peach jam lend themselves, or oranges and peaches lend themselves really well to making jam out of. It's because of their high pectin content. Another fruit that's really high in pectin, of course, blueberries, and which is why we can make wonderful blueberry pie. And so the secret to a good blueberry pie is to get that blueberry filling to gel up. When you cut into a blueberry pie, it shouldn't, blueberry shouldn't be pouring all over. What you should have is a really nice blueberry jelly inside there. And so if you do it right, you can get that to happen. And the reason that happens is because of the high pectin content in blueberries. Something like strawberries does not have a high pectin content, so we're going to have to add our own. But you can go to the store and you can, of course, buy the yellow box of pectin and do that, and that's all we're doing here. And I'm just following the directions for freezer jam in the Sure Gel box. I'm not making up anything complicated here, gang. This is all really that simple. But in order for pectin to work, what you have to do is you have to have it hot. And so in order to get the gel that you need, what you have to do is you have to get the pectin up. I think it's like 104 degrees or something like that. Oh, by the way, this, does it actually say on here? I'm looking to see if there's actually information about this. It doesn't say on this, but I mentioned how the pectin is partially methyl ester and methylated, or partially esterified. Most the natural pectins and stuff like that, they're about 60% esterification, so this is what's known as PE60 pectin. I don't see it actually on the box, but that's what I would expect it to be in this case. PE60 is what we're using. But yeah, we need to get the pectin up to about 104 degrees, if I remember right. And so what we have to do is we have to bring it past boiling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and I'm going to take about 3/4 cup of water, and I'm going to take this packet of pectin. There's some pectin in there. Most of it's just filler, gang. This is just dextrose, right? It's tasteless filler, but that's okay. And it's interesting when I put that in there, turn the heat on, that you won't actually see that the pectin doesn't dissolve, and that's good because you need to heat it up in order to get it to dissolve. And so what we need to do is we need to bring this up to boiling. And once we get it there, this is kind of like one of those candy things, right? We could use our candy thermometer and stuff like that. You don't need to really do that. What I like to do is just leave it on the high heat, boiling, stirring constantly, and just boil that for about another minute, and that'll bring it up those extra few degrees that you need in order to get to start that gelling process, okay? If you don't heat this thing up high enough, your gel doesn't gel very well. I've never tried to overheat it. I'm always afraid to overcook it, but I'm going to heat that up about 104 degrees. Before that happens, you have to be prepared, because once that thing comes off the stove at 104 degrees, you dump it into your strawberries right away. You stir that in. As soon as that gets mixed in and blended well, you have to jar. Okay, it's time to can these things. This is a freezer jam, and so we're not having to worry about seals or anything like that. This is not heating the snot out of it and wait for the lids to pop and stuff like that. No, this is an issue of freezer jam. So all I've got is some nice clean jars that we have here. But this is the part right here that as soon as I get to the stove here and start stirring, when that thing starts boiling, we're on a clock at that point, and it will have to happen quick. So that's what we're going to do. So let me go over here. First thing you have to do on this is I've got the heat going. Got to get it boiling, and I'm going to just start stirring it until some of my pectin dissolves and some of my dextrose dissolves. It's not quite there yet, so I can keep doing this. So that's the way it's going to be. So what we're going to do is get that to boil, bring that up to boiling. Once that gets into boiling, we're going to dump that right in there, stir those up, put it out, and then it's time to eat, right? Okay. So let me stir this constantly, and I'll stir this while we're waiting for it to boil. Okay, so now my pectin has come to a boil, and it's just starting to boil, and it's getting foamy. That's all really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this in here for exactly 1 minute and let that cook for that minute. It's nice and foamy, and so you can see that thing is boiling really well. And so we're just going to let this boil for a minute. It's really hard to wait for this minute while I do this. I'm going to keep stirring it while that's happening. I don't have the patience. It seems like it's going really, really hot and really, really hard and everything like that. Fortunately, I have a nice big pan, so it's not going to boil over or anything like that. That's 35 seconds. So we've got to bring that temperature up past 100 degrees. So we're going to keep heating, keep heating, keep heating. Keep that heat on it. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, off the heat, and that's going to come right into my strawberries. Beautiful. Okay, there it goes. So now I'm going to stir this and get that mixed into my strawberry mixture. Now get it mixed in really well. Want that stirred throughout, mixed throughout. You put that hot solution in there, that hot solution affectant in there, you know, it warms up the strawberry mixture. It helps that sugar dissolve even more and everything like that. And there we go. Now we've got that incorporated into my strawberry mixture. And dudes, it is time. Yep, it's time. Now the recipe says that when you do this, you should be able to get 5 8-ounce jars, 8-ounce containers. I don't know what an 8-ounce container is. I don't actually know if I have an 8-ounce container. I just kind of put it in jars that look like this, and I'm going to, I don't want to fill them up all the way to the top. That never does any good anyway, so I'll just take a couple scoops, put that in there. It's not an issue of how much. I don't care too much. I got plenty of jars here. I can get more if I need them, but I don't think I will. Ladle that jam in there. That's a little bit smaller container. Now I'm running low. I'm going to have to do that because I'm running low, so let me get this out of there. Yeah, and you can tell as I'm doing this, as I'm scooping it, you can see that there's gelling that's actually starting to happen here. It's getting thicker, and it actually has more of a gelatinous type of texture to it. Things like that. I've got a little bit at the bottom. I'll just put that in. And so what did I end up with? I did end up with 5 containers. Looks like I used about 8 ounces per head. I did a pretty good job of that. This one's actually pretty empty. And like that. So there we go. Whew, that's it. Your jam is done, right? It just needs to sit for a little bit to gel, but you know, it's getting there. It's getting there. I tell you, I take that out. Let me get a spoon. You know? Yeah, oh yeah, this is gelling up completely at this point. So yeah, you can see how thick that's coming off of there. That is a nice thick syrup consistency at this point. Here's the most important part. Oh, that's delicious. To die for. Oh man, boy, yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's good stuff. You know, the advantage of making it at home was that I don't have to share it with the class. When I make this in class, of course, what we do at the end is hand off to everybody else and hand out free samples to those in the class and stuff like that. I get it all for myself. I'll tell you, this as I said, this is way better than anything you'll ever buy in the store. You know, I said I could eat this stuff as I do. I just eat it right out of the container with a spoon. Just take a spoonful and give it to me, and I'll be in good shape. That's not the lid I want for that one. Make sure I have the right lid. The advantage of it is, or I said, you know, you can put it on bread. That's for sure. You know, if you have homemade bread that comes out of the bread machine or whatever, and you put that on there, you can't top that. I mean, this is exactly homemade bread with homemade strawberry jam is about as good as it gets, right? Everything like that. But anything that serves as a jam delivery system, you know, pancakes or whatever, anything you can put jam on, I do it. I said this stuff, I can just chug this stuff down. This is so good. So, I'm just waiting to see if this thing gels up. If we get any, you know, get any indication that it's actually turning jam-like, and yeah, it's starting to get there. Give this a day or so. Actually, you know, by an hour, you'll be to the point where you can't tip it and it won't flow and everything like that. But it's going to be good for now. Yeah, so that's jam. I will just tell you, you know, so with the 10 minutes that we took in between to let the strawberries sit, it's been a half hour plus 10, 40 minutes. 40 minutes this has been to go from strawberries in the container to jam in the jar. You can't get any easier than that, and it is as delicious as it can be, right? I mean, the other thing is you know, homemade noodles. There you go. Once you have homemade noodles, there's no comparison to bought noodles. Same thing, homemade jam, no comparison to bought jam. This stuff is so good. But the great thing is, it's all about chemistry, right? This is all about making the gel out of the carbohydrates that are in both the sugar. It's a combination of the sucrose and the pectin come together to make your jam, and there we go. So something like that is going to be yummy. You know what I'm going to do? Hang on. The best part about making jam, of course, is eating it. And so I don't have any homemade bread or anything like that, but thought I'd just make myself a little sandwich using some of the jam that we just made. I've given it a few minutes. I mean, we're maybe an hour after that. You can see one of our jars of jam. I can dip that out. There's nothing coming out. This is beautiful little gel and jam. And just put that on my bread for an afternoon snack. So I hope that I've shown you that how easy it is to do something like make some homemade jam. It really is that easy to do. It's one of those things, and it makes a wonderful afternoon sandwich, wonderful for your lunchbox, and all sorts of things. So I'm going to eat up. All righty.